Hello everyone, welcome to the last section of this presentation. We are talking about the development of external genitalia, and now we'll talk about the relocation of testes and the ovaries. So initially the testes and the ovaries are formed at a different point, at a different stage in time. At that point in time the embryo is not fully developed, so the craniocaudal axis as well as the longitudinal axis is not complete. So when the development of these testes and ovaries they proceed, they finally come to lie in the perineal region of the human embryo. We'll see how this movement from an upper region to a lower region occurs along with the development of this female reproductive tract. So we'll see the descent of ovaries, the descent of testes, and finally we'll see the clinical correlations of what happens if this descent goes wrong. So now, first of all, the descent of testes. So this is the testes being developed. So testes usually develop on the posterior abdominal wall and it lies in the lumbar region. So the development is taking place at the posterior abdominal wall in the lumbar region. This is the testes being developed in the posterior abdominal wall in the lumbar region. So from here it has to descend into the scrotum at or just after birth. Usually in 90% of the cases it occurs before birth. So this testis has to descend outside of the abdomen into the scrotum before birth. So how would it take place? So there's differential growth of the posterior abdominal wall. We already know that there's differential growth of posterior abdominal wall when compared with the anterior. There's formation of inguinal bursa. Now inguinal bursa is an outpouching which is formed towards the scrotum. The cavity of the inguinal bursa, it forms the inguinal canal. So here you can see this is the scrotum, this is the testicle, the collecting tubules, and finally the epididymis and the spermatic cord. So this is where the testis has to lie in the adult form, in the adult individual. So during growth of the posterior abdominal wall, there is no corresponding increase in length of the gubernaculum. So we talked about this before. Gubernaculum testes, it will come in the subsequent slide, so I'm not going back to show you what the gubernaculum is. I'll show you on the next slide. So the gubernaculum is actually a fold of mesenchyme that is attached from the tip of the testes to the tip of the scrotum and helps the testes. It actually pulls the testes downwards towards the scrotum so that it may lie in its appropriate position. So there's differential growth of the posterior abdominal wall. However, there is no corresponding increase in the length of gubernaculum. So due to the relative shortening of the gubernaculum, the testis progressively assumes a lower position because there's shortening and there's pressure. It is actually pulling the testes downward, so the testes come to lie downward within the scrotum. So this fold, this in o-ring is the gubernaculum testis. This is the developing testes. So the posterior abdominal wall here, the posterior abdominal wall, it has a differential growth, as a result of which the size of this gubernaculum testis, it actually shrinks, as a result of which the testis comes to lie within this scrotal area. So what is processus vaginalis? So it is a diverticulum of the peritoneal cavity. So this is the retroperitoneal structure. It is being developed on the posterior abdominal wall. So it lies retroperitoneally. So the peritoneal cavity lies anterior to it. So a diverticulum of the peritoneal cavity, it grows into the inguinal canal and scrotum. This is the diverticulum known as the processus vaginalis. Now as the testes descend, this is the descending testes, it invaginates processus vaginalis from the behind. So here you can see there's invagination of processus vaginalis by the descending testes. Now the part of processus vaginalis between the testes and the deep inguinal ring is now obliterated. Since there was invagination, here you can see in the figure, this part is invaginating inwards, as a result of which this part undergoes obliteration and this part is no longer there. So the part of processus vaginalis between the testes and the deep inguinal ring, it is obliterated. The part of processus vaginalis which is now covering the testes is known as the tunica vaginalis. So this is the tunica vaginalis. Tunica vaginalis actually originates from processus vaginalis. Processus vaginalis was a diverticulum of the peritoneal cavity. The connection between the processus vaginalis between the testes and the deep inguinal ring is obliterated. So here you can see the obliterated part of the processus vaginalis. This is the tunica vaginalis, the gubernaculum vaginalis, gubernaculum testes, and this is the testes lying in its adult position. So what are the factors which are responsible for the descent of this testes into the scrotum? So this is the ideal position for the testes to attain. So there's increase in intra-abdominal pressure which helps to push the testes downwards. So there's a rapid development within the abdomen. There is development of the gut which causes increase in pressure and pushes the testes downwards. Then male sex hormones also greatly influence the descent of testes. So calcitonin gene related peptide is secreted by the genitofemoral nerve which supplies the muscle fibers of the gubernaculum testes. This helps in the descent of testes as well. So what is cryptorchidism? So cryptorchidism is also known as undescended testes. In undescended testes, one or both the testes may fail to descend into the scrotum. So they're present in scrotum before birth. In remaining, the descent occurs postnatally during the first 3 months. So in 90% of the cases, they're usually present within the scrotum. However, if they remain, if the testes is not in the scrotum, it may come in the scrotum within the 3 months of development. In less than 1% of the infants, one or both the testes, they usually fail to descend. It occurs due to decrease in androgen or testosterone production. The testes may become arrested at any one point during their journey from the posterior abdominal wall, from the lumbar region of the posterior abdominal wall into the scrotum. So these are the 5 important regions where it can arrest it. So first is at the lumbar point, the lumbar region of the abdomen. The second is the iliac region, which is the site of the deep inguinal ring. The third is the inguinal region, that is within the inguinal canal. The fourth is pubic, which is at the superficial inguinal ring, and fifth is scrotal, which it may lie high up in the scrotum. So these are the 5 important points at which the undescended testes may lie. These points lie along with the direction of a migration or descent of the usual testes. So what is an ectopic testis? So testis is present, but it is present elsewhere. That is present away from its expected path of descent. So the sites of ectopic testis may be in the superficial fascia of the anterior abdominal wall, which is the intestinal type. So which is the interstitial type. So it can present in the superficial fascia of the abdominal wall here. So next we have anterior medial aspect of the thigh. So in the region of femoral triangle, here you can see. So this is the in the region of the femoral triangle. Now it can be present at the root of the penis. Here you can see the prepenile ectopic testes. And it can also be in the perineum behind the scrotum. So this is the perineal testes. So these are the various ectopic sites of testes. These are the sites at ectopic sites of the testes are the sites at which do not lie in accordance with the descent of the usual testes. Now, what is congenital indirect inguinal hernia? So now, if the processus vaginalis fails to obliterate, so the portion of processus vaginalis, if it fails to obliterate between the deep inguinal ring and it remains open, so the loops of intestine may herniate. This is a closed processus vaginalis. However, if it fails to close, The loops of intestine may descend through it into the scrotum, and it may result in the production of congenital indirect inguinal hernia. So the processus vaginalis, it forms a communicating channel between the peritoneal cavity within the abdomen and tunica vaginalis within the scrotum, and into which the contents of the intestine may come to lie. So what is congenital hydrocele? So there's accumulation of fluid in the peritoneal sac within the scrotum and or the inguinal canal. So hydrocele is actually accumulation of fluid that may be in the scrotum or in the inguinal canal. So here you can see this is the peritoneal cavity. This is the obliterated part of the processus vaginalis. However, there is slight communication, as a result of which there is accumulation of fluid within this within the testicular part of the within the testes, and hence it forms the congenital hydrocele. So it occurs due to incomplete obliteration of the processus vaginalis. It provides a tiny communication between the peritoneal cavity and the tunica vaginalis. So the fluid from the peritoneal cavity may come to lie within the tunica vaginalis or the inguinal canal or the scrotum, and result in the production of hydrocele. Now this communication, it permits the escape of fluid but not the entry of intestine into the sac. So with that being done, let's talk about the descent of ovary. So the ovary develops on the posterior abdominal wall as well, and also develops in the upper lumbar region. So from here it descends into the true pelvis. So it lies on the lateral wall in a fossa called the ovarian fossa. So initially it developed in the posterior abdominal wall in the upper lumbar region, and finally comes to lie on the lateral walls of the pelvis in the ovarian fossa. So this is the adult position of the ovaries, that is the lateral pelvic wall in the ovarian fossa. So the caudal end of the ovary is attached to the genital swelling by the fibromuscular band, the gubernaculum ovary. So here in green you can see this is the gubernaculum ovary. The gubernaculum ovary is a fibromuscular band that attaches itself to the caudal end of the ovary. Now the descent of ovary occurs due to the pull of the gubernaculum. So this gubernaculum pulls the ovary to its adult position so that it comes to lie on the lateral wall of the pelvis in the ovarian fossa. The descent is usually arrested at the pelvis due to the development of the uterus and the development of the broad ligament of the uterus and the ovary. So there's development of the broad ligament of the round ligament of the uterus and the broad ligament of the ovary, as a result of which there is this descent is arrested in the lateral wall of the pelvis. So the gubernaculum has a proximal part which drags the ovary. This is the proximal part of the gubernaculum. It drags the ovary onto the pelvic cavity. Here you can see the ovary is being dragged in the pelvic cavity, and this becomes the round ligament of the ovary. Now it also has a distal part. The distal part becomes the round ligament of the uterus. So the round ligament of uterus is formed by the distal part of the gubernaculum testes. So a tubular prolongation of the peritoneum, known as the processus vaginalis, extends into the inguinal canal along the gubernaculum. So what is processus vaginalis? Processus vaginalis is a tubular prolongation that extends into the inguinal canal along with the gubernaculum. The processus vaginalis, in this case also known as the canal of Nook, it usually obliterates and disappears much before birth. So it is usually not present and obliterates much before birth. So why did we discuss that? Because of the clinical correlates. Now, if this processus vaginalis, that is the canal of Nook, it persists after birth, it may lead to congenital inguinal hernia in the females as well. So, if the gubernaculum of the ovary fails to attach to the angle of the uterus, so Gubernaculum fails to attach to the angle. Ovary may be present in the inguinal canal. It can be present within the inguinal canal or in the labium. Or here you can see, this is the tunica vaginalis. This is the sac of the hernia. This is due to the communication the process of the processus vaginalis, that is the canal of Nuck, that is not being obliterated, as a result of which the contents of hernia within this sac, and this is how a congenital inguinal hernia may occur in the adult female. So this was all about this section. In this section we talked about the descent of ovaries and the descent of testes. The descent of testes was somewhat complicated, however the descent was ovaries was as simple as it could be. Then we saw the clinical defects which happen due to lack of descent of ovaries or testes and how to correct them. I hope you understood and liked this lecture. For further such lectures, keep watching sqadia.com.